Welcome friends. In this video we are going to look at mathematics paper 1, and this paper was written by the external candidates in 2020. Now we'll consider this video as the second part, since our first part covered question 1 up to question 17. Now here we'll cover 18 up to 23. Now the first question from this video is, the diagram below shows a right angle triangle PQR. Now given that PQ equals 15 centimeters and cos x degrees is equal to 2/3, calculate the length of QR. So now let's look at this diagram. So this distance, this one will be opposite, since it's opposite to the angle x. Then we are going to have adjacent here. Then this is our hypotenuse. Okay, then what are we supposed to do? So the question is, we want to find QR, which is adjacent. So let's look at the three trig ratios. So from the SOHCAHTOA, we are going to get the car, because it consists of the cos, since we are given the cos of this angle. So say cos x is equal to, we have the adjacent over hypotenuse. Now cos, what is the cos of x? So the cos of x is given 2/3. So we have to do the substitution. So where there is cos, then we are supposed to put 2/3. So say 2/3 is equal to, the adjacent is just the distance, QR, the one that we are solving for, over 3. So we can now cross multiply. So we have 3 times QR, this will be 3QR. I've made a mistake. So this should be, the hypotenuse is 15. Okay, so 3QR, then 2 times 15, we can write it as 30, or if you want, we can just say 2 times 15 centimeters over 3/3. Then what's our QR? QR, 3 into 3 is 1. 3 into 15 will give us 5. 5 times 2, our final answer is just 10 centimeters. So this is how we can solve for this missing distance. Now let's move on to question B. Question B, a straight line has equation that find the y coordinates of the point where L cuts the y-axis. Okay, so let's maybe see if we can create a picture here. So we have this XY plane, then we are going to have a straight line. This is our straight line, and we are told it has this equation, 3y is equal to 5x minus 6. Now we want the y coordinates of the point where the L cuts the y-axis. So at this point, what coordinate is there? So we know that in the y-axis, the x coordinate is always 0. So our work is to find the value of y. So what do you do? So let's look at our equation. So 3y is equal to 5x minus 6. So let's make y the subject of the formula by dividing by 3, 3, 3. So that if we cancel, we have y is equal to 5/3x minus 2. 3 into 6 will give us 2. Now we are saying where the line cuts the y-axis, the x is equal to 0. So where there is x now, we can substitute by 0. So it's 5/3 times 0 minus 2. So the concept here is just that you remove every term that has x in it, because anything times 0, we know that this will give us 0, which is negative 2. So our coordinate is just 0, negative 2. So that was the required answer that we can write. Okay, so we move on to question 19a. Rectangle ABCD and DAEF are geometrically similar. Given that AB is equal to 10 centimeters and AD is equal to 4 centimeters, calculate the area of rectangle DAE. Now, since we have been given this condition of similar figures, so what are we going to do? So what we are going to do is, let's find the area of the larger rectangle. So what is the area of a rectangle is given by this formula. It's L multiplied by B. So the L is the longest distance, which is 10 centimeters, times our breadth will be this number, which is 4 centimeters. So area is equal to 40 centimeters squared. Now remember, this is the area for the larger rectangle. Now, how can we use the area of the larger rectangle to find the area of the smaller one? So we are going to use the ratio system. So let's make these two distances as ratios. So the first one, we have 10 centimeters, 4 centimeters here. So how can we make these two numbers ratios? So we need to look at the number that we can divide into 10 and 4 without giving us a remainder. So we'll see 2 is common, so we also have to include the centimeter. So this cancel. So 10 as a ratio is 5, 4 as a ratio is 2. Now, since we are dealing with the area, after finding the scale factors, what are we supposed to do to the ratios? So what we are supposed to do to the ratios, we are supposed to square them. So we'll square this number as well as this number. So 5 squared will give us 25. 2 squared will give us 4. Now the area that we have, 40 centimeters, represents the larger rectangle. So it will be written where there is this squared ratio. So our 40 centimeters squared will be here. Then he will put x. Now let's solve for x. 25 times x, this will give us 25x. Then 4 times 4, it's 160 centimeters squared. We divide by 25, also here by 25. Now for numbers like this where you do not have a calculator, first I advise you reduce them to a point where it is easier for you to find the quotient. So which number can go into 160 and 25 without giving us a remainder? So it's 5. So let's begin. 5 into 16 is 3. 3 remainder 1. Then 5 into 10 will give us 32 as the total answer. So 32 centimeters squared over 5 into 25 is 5. Now we, at least at this level, it's easier to divide 5 into 32. So 5 into 32 will give us 6. Remainder 2. 5 into 2, it can't, we put a decimal, we add a 0 here. 5 into 20 is 4. So the area of the smaller rectangle is 6.4 centimeters squared. So that is what we are supposed to do. Now let's move on to question B. Mrs. Karomba bought 120 shares at a nominal value of 40 kwacha each, which she later sold at 42.50 each. Find her profit. So we can see that the selling price is greater than the cost price. As a result, the profit was made. Now let's look at let's find the profit. The profit, we'll say profit per share. So how much was got per share? So what you do, you get the selling price. So this is the price at which the shares were sold at. We subtract the cost price, the price at which the shares were bought at. So selling price is this number, which is 42.50. So if we want, we can just say 5 or 50 minus our cost price is this number, which is 14.00. Then what is 42.50 minus 40? This will give us 2.50 or 2.5. Then maybe for those that are not clear of how did we get this number, you can just go back to grade 1, where you remember we are taught to make sure that as we are subtracting, make sure the decimal points are in the same direction. So 0 minus 0 will give us a 0, 5 minus 0 will get a 5. Then decimal here, 2 minus 0 is 2, 4 minus 4 is 0. So this is how we are getting this number. So it means that each share she got a profit of 2 kwacha 15, which is 2.50. Now how can we find the total profit? So the total profit can be calculated by the amount, the profit per share times the number of shares. So remember, the number of shares she had was 120. So let's find that. So now we have profit, which is, we'll say net profit or total profit is equal to 2.50 times 120. Now, how do you multiply numbers like this in paper 1? So let's ignore the zeros from each number. So from 12, let's just get, from 120, let's just get 12. Then for 2.50, let's just get 25. And for now, we'll forget for decimal place. So 5 times 2 is 10. We keep the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Then plus 1, we get 6. 2 times 2 give us 4. 2 times this number will just give us this. So here we have 0. 6 plus 4, 10. We keep the 1. Here we are going to have 3. Now remember, there are 2 zeros that we ignored, this one and this one. So let's add these 2 zeros at the end of this number that we found. So like this. Then after we are done, we can see that there is one number that has a decimal. Then how many decimal places do we have? So it's 1, 2. So we'll do the same. We'll move from the right to the left 2 places. So we'll move 1, 2, which is our final answer. Is just she got 300 kwacha as her profit. Okay, so now we move on to question 20. So question 20a, on the diagram in this answer space, shade 3 more triangles to make a pattern with rotation symmetry of order 3. Now, sometimes the whole mathematics paper 1 is not about if sometimes you may be even given a calculator. It's not about having a calculator, no. Sometimes you just have to step out of that comfort zone. Like for this question, you just have to think. You think how can we add 3 more of these triangles so that we may have the order? So what does this order? So this is the central point. So let's say this is our point A. So we are saying we want to add 3 more triangles such that if we rotate this, it can rotate 3 times for it to go back to its original position. Now, how can we do this? So let's think. So let's say we shade here. Let's shade here. First triangle. We also face this one. Then let's shade also here. So we can see that the first rotation, this part will go on this part, then this part will fit on this part, then this part will fit on this part. So you can see how the answer was supposed to be. So that is our answer. We just needed these 3 more triangles, I mean. Then simple interest is given by the formula interest is equal to PTR divided by 100. Complete the flowchart in the answer space below for calculating simple interest. So simple interest with the formula I is equal to P. So P is just the principal, the money that is invested. Then T is the time in years. Rate, the percentage, how much are you given for the annual period. So that is the picture. So from this we can see that principal is the input, time is the input, rate is also the input because these can change. So we say enter P T R. Then you say calculate simple interest is equal to P times T times R. You divide by 100. Excuse me. So that's our answer there. We move on to a question where we have linear programming in the diagram below. Point A is 1,1. So A is 1,1. So let's look at where our A is. So A is here. So 1,1. It means the value of y is 1. So this means that at this point there is a 1 here. Then if we are to go where A is, and let's do this. So here there is a 1. Okay, let's go back to the second point. So B 0,7. So whenever the x is 0, then the y has a number. It is located in the y-axis. So this is where the 0, y is. So just say at this point here we have 7. What else? C 14,0. Since the y is 0, so it is in the x-axis. So this is where our 14 is. So what else do we have? D 7,0. 7,0. So this is where our 7 is. So do we have the last point? E, it's 7,1. So 7,1. Now, what is the question? So the question is, write down the 4 inequalities that define the unshaded region R. So you can begin with any of the 4 inequalities, but the best way that I would maybe ask you to do is begin with those that are just cutting on one axis only. For example, this one, we'll consider this one as the first inequality. It is cutting the x-axis. Then this one will be our second. Then this, our third here. our fourth. Now let's answer it. Our first one is simple. We can see that the one that we've chosen to be our first one is cutting the x-axis at which number? 7. Now the right side of any vertical line is considered to be greater. Then here is less. Less, it means that if we are going in this direction, you can see that the numbers are decreasing, and because of that the region is also considered to be less. Now we can also tell by the line that the greater was shaded, so the needed area or region was less, so we just put less as our first one. Remember not to put equal to if the line is in dotted. Let's go to point number 2. So point number 2 is cutting the y-axis at 1. This is 1. So at 1, then any horizontal line, the upper is considered to be greater. Then we have a less. So the shaded is less, the greater is what we want. So we put greater than. This time we'll put equal to, since we just have a solid line. Then the third one, we can see it is passing through 0, 0. And so as long as the other pair has the same numbers, so whether 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, as long as the x coordinate is equal to the y coordinate, then the equation that you just have to remember is this one: y is equal to x. But since we are dealing with this, let's not put the equal sign. So the upper is greater and it's shaded, so we want the less part, so we put less, and we are not going to put the less or equal to. Now for the fourth one, it is cutting 2 axes. So what are we supposed to do? Let's look at the coordinate for B. So B is 0, 7. C is 14, 0. So what are we going to do? Let's begin by finding the gradient. So the gradient is just the change in y divided by the change in x, and that can be found by this formula. Okay, at least everyone knows this formula. So y2 is 0, y1 is 7, over x2 is 14, x1 is 0. So on top we'll get -7 over 14. So if we reduce, this will give us -12. 7 into 7 is 1. 7 into 14 will give us a 2. So after we have our gradient, let's now apply the formula for equation of the straight line. Now for this one, we can use any pair. Now let's use this pair, the first one. So we know that the y is 7, gradient is -12, x is just 0. So when multiply -1 over 2 times 0, we just get a 0. So that's the reason why I chose that one, so that no need of finding the common denominator. So we can say y minus 7 is equal to -12 times x. This will give us -12 x. -12 times -0, we just get a +0, or we can just ignore that. Then from there we can now shift this one, so this will give us -12 x plus 7. So now what's our final answer? We need to go back to our diagram so that we can get the inequality symbol. So what's our inequality into consideration? So we know that the upper is always considered to be greater, then the one here will be less. So we want the less, so we put less than or equal to. Now with mathematics paper 1, guys, just practice more, otherwise it will make sense. You shouldn't worry too much. Just make sure you do your best as you are studying. Go through the past papers then I'm sure our God will see us through. Okay, now let's move on to this question here. 22a, solve the equation x squared minus 7x is equal to 8. So this is a quadratic equation. Since we can see that the highest power is 2 minus 7x. So let's shift this to this side. So give us negative 80 is equal to 0. So we know that the coefficient of x squared is a, the coefficient of b, x is just b, then we have the constant. So you can use the method of your choice. So let's first begin by using a quadratic formula, because for many this is a simple way. So at least as you are studying or writing your mathematics this year, make sure you know this formula, which is commonly known as a bus. So let's do the substitution here. So it's negative. What's the value of b? It's negative 7 plus or minus negative 7 squared minus 4. What's our a? A is just 1. C, negative 8. Everything divided by 2 times 1. So negative times negative, we get positive 7 plus or minus 7 squared is 49. Then this negative times this negative will give us a positive. 4 times 1 times 8. So if we multiply 4 times 1 is 4, times 8 times 4 will give us 32 over 2. So as our x, 7, positive or minus 49 plus 32 will give us 81 over 2. So what is the square root of 81? Is just 9 over 2. So we know what we are supposed to do here. We need to split. So one will get 7 plus 9 over 2. The other one will be 7 minus 9 over 2. So the first one will be 7 plus 9 will give us 16 over 2, which is the first value of x is 8. Then here we are going to have 7 minus 9. We just get negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So these are the two values of x that were needed. Now let's say we use factorization method, because for some factorization may be simple. So let's see how can we solve this same question by using factorization method. So by factorization, you first have to find the product, then sum and the factors. Now the trick issue is about finding the factors. Now it is not that safe knowing only this so-called bus formula. You just have to know factorization, because sometimes the question is just direct, factorize. Then you have no option but to factorize. So let's see how we can share. So say whenever we want to factorize, first we'll begin by finding product. So product is just the sum, the product of A and C. So as the value of A is 1 times negative 8, which is negative 8. So whenever the product is negative, then the factors, one of the factors will have a negative sign, the other one will have a positive. So the point is, the two factors will have different signs. So whenever the product is negative, then the two factors will have different signs. Now let's find what's the sum. How do we find the sum? So sum, no need of adding, sum is just equal to the value of b. So the value of b is -7. So look at this. When the product is negative and the sum is negative, then the bigger number of the two factors will carry a negative sign. So let's look at those two factors. Maybe let's see how we can do this. So what is the best way of finding factors? So you write that number, which is -8. So this is what you do. So you start dividing numbers. So only use the numbers that can go into that particular number. So the first number is, we'll say 1. 1 into -8 is still -8. So we have the first two numbers. Let's check if these two numbers will work out. So start first by multiplying. So 1 times -8. 8 will still get -8. So we are able to get the same product. Okay, we are okay. Then what of 1 plus, which is 1 minus 8. So we are getting a -7. So these are the two factors that we want. So that is the easiest way to find the factor. So just find the number or numbers that are going through that. From those numbers, you'll be able to find the factors. So let's hope we have that. So it's 1, -8 as our factors. So let's see what we can do. So say x squared plus x minus 8x minus this is equal to 0. Then the sum of these two numbers must add up to this. So positive x minus 8x will still add up to 7x. So for that, you'll be able to see that what you're doing is making sense. So let's now factorize the usual way. So the common here is x. So x into x squared is x plus here 1. Then here the common factor is -8. -8 into -8x is just x. Negative into negative, positive 8 into 8 is 1, is equal to 0. Then we can see that these two are equal, so we factorize, we just get 1. Then this one will form its pair, so it's x minus 8 is equal to 0. Then we equate x plus 1 is equal to 0. X minus 8 is equal to 0. So if we shift, the first value of x is -1, the other one is +8. So we can see that we still get the same values. Now let's move on to question B. So question B, find the first one, x coordinates of A and B. So we just want to find the values of x intercepts. Now, given this, what are we supposed to do? So let's see what we can do. So the equation is like this: y is equal to -4 x minus half squared plus 9. So first begin by expanding. So let's expand. So how can we expand this? We do this. So say y minus 4, -4 first, we just leave it like that. So let's say x minus half times another x minus half. So I've written these 2 because of the square plus 9. So let's use now algebra. So x times x will give us x squared. Then x times -half, we get -half x. Then we go to this number, -half times x is -half x. -half times -half, we get 1/4 plus 9. Okay. So do you have the like terms? Here we are going to have, we have the like terms. So what is half plus half? So whenever we add this, we just get negative x plus this number plus 9. Because we know that if we get negative half x minus this x, lowest common denominator is 2, 2 into 2 is 1 times this, so it's negative x minus here negative x. So same, we add, we get negative 2x over 2. 2 into this one is just, so whenever you add two halves, the answer will just get a 1. So negative half x plus negative half x, we just get a negative x. Then after we are done, let's now expand. Negative 4 times x squared, we get negative 4x squared. Then negative 4 times negative x, we get positive 4x. Then negative 4 times positive 1 over 4, we just get 1 plus 9. How is that possible? So it is like this. So it's negative 1 4 times 4. So over 1, negative 4 times 1 is equal to negative 4 over 1 times 4 is 4. 4 into is 1. That's what we are saying. Or what you just have to know here is, if you are multiplying a whole number by a fraction, as long as the whole number is equal to the denominator of that fraction, the answer is always the numerator of that particular fraction. So we can see that we have our normal quadratic equation. So after we have it, now we can solve it using the method of our choice. So let's say A, B, C. So how can we solve this? We can now use, if you want, you can use the quadratic formula. You can use the product. So as our product is negative 4 times 8, which is negative 32. Sum is just 4 factors easy. So let's look at the factors. So the factors are said, you get that product, you start dividing. So you start by 1 into this one is negative 32. Negative 32 times this one will give us negative 32, but if you add, you won't get the 4. So you move on, you try 2. 2 here will give us negative 16. So 2 times negative 16, we get negative 32. 2 minus 16, we are getting 12. So that won't work. Let's try, is it 4? Now 4 into, we move on, 3 cannot go into 32, so let's try 4 into negative 32 is just negative 8. So 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. Okay, then 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So we just have to reverse the signs, so negative plus, so that if we add, we get positive 4, which is this. So the factors will just be negative 4, 8. We can now factorize. So either is why we put 0. So it's negative 4x squared. Then minus 4x plus 8x plus 8 is equal to 0. What is the common factor here is negative 4x. Then we have x, negative, negative, positive. 4x into 4x is just 1 plus 8 is common here. 8 into 8x is just x. 8 into 81 is equal to 0. So we can now get one of these two. Negative 4x plus 8 is equal to 0. So x plus 1 is equal to 0. So the first value of x is negative 1. Then here we get negative 4x plus 80 is equal to 0. Negative 4x is equal to negative 8. If this shift to the side, which is over negative 4 over negative 4. So x is equal to positive 2. So the one value is negative, the other one is positive. So negative 1 and positive 2. So we have negative 1 comma 0, then 2 comma 0. So we can see that a is on the negative party, so a is negative 1 comma, then b is 2 comma 0. Now since we just want the x coordinate, so you can just say the x coordinate for a is negative 1, the x coordinate for b is just 2. Then the coordinates of c, so c is just the intersection or the y-intercept. So how do we find the y-intercept? So let's go to our original equation. So how can we solve that original equation? So let's look at our original equation. So original equation is this one, y is equal to negative 4x squared plus 4x plus 8. So whenever you are solving for this, where there is x, you put 0. So 0 plus 0 plus 8, which is y, is just 8. So coordinate for c is 0 comma 8. Remember, in the y-axis, x is equal to 0. Or for y, we can even just use the same original equation. It will still work out. Let's see. Our original equation is this: y is equal to minus 4 x minus half squared plus 9. So let's just proceed by substituting. Here we put 0 minus this squared plus 9. So 0 minus negative 2 is negative 2. Then negative 1 over 2 times 1 over 2 is 1 over 4 plus 9, which is, we can cancel this 4, which is negative 1 plus 9, which is equal to 8. So we are still getting the same answer. Now let's look at the last question. So the last question is: a sprinter runs a race of 200 meters. Her total time for running the race is 25 seconds, ending at u meters below. Below is a sketch of the motion of the sprinter. So we have a speed time graph. Calculate the acceleration in the first 4 seconds. So 4 seconds is ending here. So this is where our final velocity is. Then at this point we have our initial. So we'll say acceleration is equal to final minus u over t. Then final velocity is 9 minus initial 0 over 4, which is final velocity is equal to 9 over 4. So which is 4 into 9 is 2, remainder 1 over 4 meters per second squared. Then distance covered in the first 20 seconds. So let's go in the first 20 seconds. So this one. So this is giving us a trapezium. So trapezium distance is equal to half a plus b times h. So how do we get the values? So a is this distance here. which is if we move down in the x-axis, is the difference between 4 and 20, which is 16. So A is 16, then B is the distance from here up to here. So B is 20, then height is 9. So height you move vertically. So distance is equal to half. Then the difference between that, we say 16 plus 20 times 9. So 20 plus this will give us 36 times 9. Half of 36 is 18 times 9. So how can we multiply these numbers? So let's do this. 18 is same as 10 plus 8 times 9. So according to algebra, if I multiply these numbers, we can say 9 times 10 is 90 plus so if we say 9 times 9 is 81. 81 minus 9 will give us 72. So we have 72. So 72 plus 90 will give us 162 meters as our final answer. Value of u. So value of u, what is the value of u at this point? So how can we find the value of u? Now to find the value of u, let's just look at the distance that is remaining. Remember, there was this. So a sprinter runs a race of this. So the 200 is the total distance. Now remember, from 0 up to 20, the distance is the one that we have calculated, which is 162. So from, we'll say 200 minus 162, then we'll be able to get there. So here we get 10, so here we have 9, 1. So 10 minus 2 is 8. Here minus this one will just give us 38. So the 38 meters is the distance for this part. So how can we solve for that? So what are we going to do? So let's look at this carefully. If we are to rotate this one, you'll find that we are dealing with a trapezium. Now for this trapezium, this is our now A. So our value of A, then this will be our value of B. Then from here up to here will be our height. So B distance is equal to half A plus B times H. So the distance we have is 38. So say 38 is equal to half. A is the distance from here up to here, so it's just U. So you say U plus B. B is from here up to here, which is 9. Height is the difference between 20 and 25, which is 5. Then what can we do? So since there is no number on the right side in which 2 can go to, so let's just cross multiply. So 238 times this will give us 76. Then here we have U plus 9 times 5. So 5 times U, it's 5U. Here we have 45. So if we correct like terms, we'll get 76 minus 45, which is 5U. So 76 minus 45, we have 1. So this is giving us 31. So here we have 31 is equal to 5U over 5 over 5. That's our U. 5 into 31 will give us 6, remainder 1. 5 into 1, it can't, so we put So it's 6.2 meters per second. So that is how we can. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.